and welcome to those of you who are new here. I'm going to do a slightly different video today to what I normally do. As I promised in my last couple of videos, I'm going to up my editing and content on YouTube. So with that in mind, I have just had delivered today my brand new laptop. So I've decided to go with a Dell XPS 139310 with the i7 processor, 16 gig of RAM and 1 terabyte of memory. The reasons being is that the MacBook Pro that I got 3 years ago has now kind of come to the end of its useful life. That's not necessarily the fault of the MacBook, but it's definitely not what I can use going forward, which is why I have bought this one, and I will explain my reasons for that. So it has this box that it comes in. It's quite nice. It's got Dell on the front. Let's open up. Oh, okay, so it's a little magnetic one. Ooh, and there we are, the XPS, and this is the 13-inch. I went for this one as opposed to the 15-inch because the 15-inch was a lot more expensive for the setup that I wanted on. It does feel really nice. I've gone for the silver one, and it should have a black keypad in it. It didn't come in any other options on the colour of the keypad. It has got quite a nice, what you can see, it's quite thin, so it looks like you've got your PowerPoint charged there, and I'm thinking that's the mini SSD tab, which is great if you want to upload anything from your phone straight into here. And then we have another USB-C port here and a headphone jack there. So it does close along the bottom nicely. I have heard of some of the Dell models that don't close down quickly, but don't close down all the way. These do. You're supposed to be able to do this with one hand, and open it with one hand, but I don't think I can. So yeah, there we come in with the black keypad. Let's see if it's got much power to it when I try and turn it on. And it doesn't look like it has any. So I'm now going to charge this up. And once I've kind of set all the admin stuff on it, I will come back to you. Right, so I've set up the Dell laptop now. It only took me about 15-20 minutes to set it up, but then I've also gone on and put on Adobe Premiere Pro package because I want to start using that now as opposed to iMovies on the Mac. So it, like I say, only took about 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes to set that up, and it probably took a good hour and a half to put on all, well, the Adobe apps that I wanted to and set up Microsoft Office, etc. It was a really easy, simple setup process in terms of setting up Dell because you've got Cortana that talks you all the way through that, and I didn't actually realise when I got the Dell, but it's actually voice activated as well, so you can talk to Cortana, and she will respond back to you and tell you where things are, etc. And also it can do Face ID, so facial recognition, as opposed to having to type in a password. You can do your thumbprint as well, but I think I'm just going to use the facial recognition because literally as soon as you open it up, it starts whirring away. Probably takes a minute or two before it's ready to then read your face and start going, which is slower than the Mac, but then the Mac doesn't take the time to do facial recognition, etc. So that's one thing that I've noticed so far. But getting on why I wanted to move away from the Mac, I still love my Mac and I probably will be using it still for design processes and stuff that aren't quite so, when I say design I mean working on thumbnails, etc. And working on my new website, but I do want to move away from the Mac because for the video editing side of things I didn't really get the right spec Mac to be able to do that. So that kind of leads me on to why I went for the Dell as opposed to the Mac. So my Mac memory is full. I only got 128 gig on there. Big mistake on my part. I just thought that I could add an external hard drive and it would work fine. Not the case. Yes, I've been able to add an external hard drive I've had to format that for the Mac operating systems, which wasn't too difficult. I did happily go into the Mac store at the time and they helped me do that, so that wasn't a problem. So with the Mac, if you are considering getting a Mac, make sure that you go for a bigger hard drive and that you've got enough gig of RAM as you need, depending on what you're going to be using it for. Now in mine, I only went for 8 gig of RAM, 128 gig of memory, which I've said isn't enough to be able to run the programs that I wanted to do, and the biggest issue that I've had is, and the main reason for upgrading, is because it ran out of storage and I couldn't add any extra on. I did double check, but the memory is hard soldered onto the board, so you can't upgrade it. Basically, you can't take out the 128 and put in a 1 terabyte. It just wouldn't work. But on the Dell, I can do that, or I have the option to do that, but I just went for a 1 terabyte solid state hard drive. I will still then have external hard drives to back up all of my vlogs on, but yeah, this Mac started using up all the memory. Every time I turn it on, it would tell me that the storage was almost full. I was having to delete a lot of things. I tried to delete a lot of my iMovies after I'd moved them onto my external hard drive, but it was still saving them in the iLibrary, yeah, which I couldn't then find and delete, and I was having to upload stuff for vlogs, do all the editing, and then once it had gone live, save it to the external hard drive and then delete it, or try to delete it off my Mac and on all the original files into it. So that was becoming a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest. It also stopped liking my SSD card for my camera, which I'm recording on now, so it meant that I was having to record on my iPhone all the time and then airdrop it, which, you know, is fairly simple, but again, that airdropping took quite a process, especially if I had like 15 minutes clips that I needed to transfer across, and then because there was the memory on there, it would put them in the iCloud, and then I'd have to download them from the iCloud to put them on again. So it was a big fat pain in the bum. I got sick of it, and I started then having a look at what I could get for my money. I didn't want to spend like loads of money, but I had spent a fair amount on the Dell, so it was £1,749, whereas I think this one from memory back at the time was £1,400. But like I say, I've gone for a much higher spec laptop this time, and like I said, one of the other things that I wanted to move away from was iMovie. I wanted to use Final Cut, because of the issues that I had with the Mac and the memory. I couldn't do that, and also you had to pay, I think it was £300 straight off. They don't give you an option for Final Cut, which is designed for Mac anyway. They didn't give you an option of like a payment plan or anything else like that, and I just couldn't afford to do that, as well as getting a new laptop. So I've gone on and I'm now using Adobe Premiere Pro, which I will be using to edit this video for the first time, so hopefully it works and I don't cock it up. But it's early days. But so far I have already uploaded one clip from this camera to Dell, dead easy. Anyway, let's now have a look and compare the two side by side. So if you're looking at the two laptops side by side, so this one being the Mac and then this one being the Dell, I think I prefer the screen on the Mac to the Dell, and that's because this one just feels a bit more lifelike. So I guess more pixels maybe than this one. And when it came to the setup, the Mac again was a lot easier because it already had all of the apps installed. So if we go down to the launch pad here, I've got basically 3 pages worth of apps that I could go along to here. So you've got these, let me just, here. So, well, I say 3 pages of apps, but it's only really that first page that I would use. Whereas when you're on the Dell here, obviously everything is on your start button here, and then you can click through and go for whatever you like here. So yeah, I would say the Mac is probably easier for finding what you want, because you literally one touch and you're there, whereas with the Dell you have to go through the start menu to get what you want. And in terms of aesthetics of the actual inside of them, I actually again prefer the Mac here because I prefer having silver. And when we're looking at the touchpads, I actually prefer the touchpad on this one because it seems to be a lot softer. But you know, the backlighting works both as well on them. I think the backlighting of the keys actually works better on or comes up better on the Dell than on the Mac, but I guess that's just aesthetics anyway. But on the outside of them, I actually prefer the Dell. There's not really much in it, to be honest, between the two of them. So let's now get into comparing the specs of my current one versus my old one, and then also we will have a look at the decisions. That's just me doing my face rectification. I wish I could do a rectification of my face recognition. It was just coming up there, so that's what the 2 little red flashing lights were there. But yeah, anyway, back to what I was getting onto. Let's compare the decision making process basically that I went when I was choosing between Dell or another Mac. So let's have a quick start off with the Mac. So I went onto the Apple website and tried to find a new MacBook Pro that was as close to the Dell as I could possibly get, and this is what I came up with. So when you go onto the page itself, I looked at the 2 gig quad-core 10th generation Intel iCore 5, and noticed that there was also one with the i7, the Core i7, which is what I wanted. And then I decided that I was going to have a look at, bear with me. Yeah, so I went for the 2.3 gigahertz in the end with the i7, and then I went for the 16 gig of RAM and the 1 terabyte SSD storage on there. And when I added the 1 terabyte storage, it then went up to £2,199, which is a lot of money. So I kind of swiftly moved on from that, but they were the kind of features that I was having a look at. Now when we go on to the Dell, again I searched for which one that I wanted, and it comes up with a list of options. So this time I went with the 11th generation Intel Core i7, went with the Windows operating system, 16 gig of RAM, 1 terabyte of hard drive. The video card was the same, you don't get a choice in that one. And then I decided to go for the non-touch screen because I don't necessarily think I needed the touch screen. If I added that, it would have been an extra £200, so I wasn't really fussed about doing that. And then it only came in the colour choice of the premium silver, with the premium silver exterior colour with the interior colour being black, and that came in at £1,749, so quite a bit cheaper than the Mac. So that is why I made that particular decision. Whether or not I live to regret it, I don't know. I know that Mac now also have the M1 chip, I believe, which is supposed to be, again, really, really good. So I did have a look at that as well, but when I was originally having a look at it, I couldn't find the hard drive that I needed, so I needed 1 terabyte, and it looked like the M1 only went up to 512 gig. Even though the M1 chip is supposed to be really, really good, I still decided to stick with the i7, the Intel i7. So yes, there were pros and cons to both, but if we now have a look at them side by side, I did a little Excel spreadsheet, because I'm a geek like that, to have a look at them side by side. What I've done here is I have then highlighted where all the differences are and highlighted which are worse and which are better, and I think you can probably see now why I went for the Dell. So the price was cheaper, and yeah, the price was a lot cheaper, and you had a slightly bigger screen, it weighed less, and you know, it was obviously thinner than the Mac, and you also got the 11th generation Intel iCore 7 as opposed to the 10 that you would get on the Mac. And the graphics cards kind of seemed the same, obviously, and the storage and the RAM, etc. Now, the one thing where Mac was better was on the battery life, but I think you kind of have to say take battery life with a pinch of salt, because obviously that's what the manufacturers say. And I've even noticed on the Dell now, I've had this running for probably a good 3 hours or so, and I would say I am, let's see if it tells me, I'm at 55% battery life. It tells me I've got 5 hours and 42 minutes left. You do get, again, more ports, and you also get a micro SSD card, which you can pop your SIM card in, or your SD card from your mobile straight in there as well. I believe that's what you can do. Please let me know in the comments below if I'm wrong. I'm sure I will soon find out if it doesn't work. And yes, so on the Dell you also, as you'll have seen, you get the Face ID, which basically means as soon as I open my laptop, the laptop turns itself on, which the Mac does as well. But with the Mac, I have to type in my password. With this one, it just looks at my face and tells me whether or not I can come in, and literally it's just seconds. You see the little flashing red lights, and then it'll open up and I'm ready to go. So when I said earlier on that it takes about a minute or two to set up, if you've had the Dell off for a few hours, say, and then you go back into it, it takes a little bit longer to start up then. But if you're constantly opening and closing it, it recognises it quite quickly, or recognises your face quite quickly. And the one thing I did find with the voice recognition with Cortana, when I tried to search it, now that it's in the English mode, Cortana doesn't work anymore. It only works in the US mode, which is pretty annoying, because obviously it has the ability to do it because it talked me through the setup. So that's a tad bit annoying, but it's not something that I'm going to worry too much about, because if I need anything, I'll just Google it or go on YouTube and find out what I need, which is what I did when I came to find out how I screen record on here. And I'm going to see how I get on now with using Adobe Premiere Pro as editing software as opposed to iMovie. I will probably do a video comparing the two, but I need to use the Adobe Premiere Pro quite a bit more first. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope if you are a YouTuber and you're looking at getting your next laptop, that this will help you in some way, or if you're just looking for a faster performance or a better performing laptop and are considering between Dell and Mac, then hopefully this will have helped you. If you are looking for one or have recently made a choice as to which video you want, then please do write some comments below. Let me know which ones you went for and why. And yeah, I hope you found this useful. Anyway, thanks very much for sticking with me to the end, and do consider subscribing to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.